Hey everyone, if you've seen any of my previous videos, you may have noticed that I use macros to move my ships around. I've had quite a few people ask me to make a video on how to set up the macros and how to use them. So today I'll go over the three macros that I use. I've got a movement one where I can move all ships of the same type at the same time. I've got one where I can basically cancel every single waypoint. There's max waypoints, and I can just immediately cancel all of them. And then the fun one is the battleship teleport one. So if I'm like in a red star and I need to teleport all three to the same spot, I can just go over here. Let's say I want to teleport up to the north here. I can just have all three teleport, and then they'll all teleport instantly. So super convenient if I'm like dropping in a heavy Cerberus red star sector. My ships aren't trickling in a second or two behind each other. They all drop in immediately, which is nice because I'm basically applying as much damage as I can without any delay. So jumping right in, there's two things to do in order to set up the macros, starting within Hades Star itself. In case you didn't know, you can assign numbers to ships, and to do that you would simply just highlight or select a ship, hold control, and then press whatever number you want. So say I assign 5 to this one. So a number can only be assigned to one ship at a time. So this one's 5. Let's say I assign this one to 5. You can see that the 5 was removed from this one and it was reassigned up here. So I set this one back to 2. So I use personally 1, 2, 3, and then I just use 4 for minor. It's convenient if I'm up here clearing a planet and I'm mining, I'm multitasking, and I notice that I need to pop my time warp. I can hit my miner without moving away, pop my time warp, and get back to the fight without taking my eyes off the fight. So super convenient. If I need to pop time warp on my battleships, or I need to pop a blast shield or bond, I can basically cycle between these three pretty easily. Alright, so that's number assignment, and then the other thing we need to do in Hades Star is actually do some key binding. So we're going to go to settings and then configure controls. There's 3 that we need to key bind. It's going to be, the first one is selection action 3. Pretty sure F3 is just the default, so I left it at that, and then I just mapped the macro around that. The second one is next selection. I made this one X. You can use whatever you want. X I just feel more comfortable with, I guess. And then I did previous selection Z, but you don't need that one for the macros. I just find Z and X are convenient for cycling through transports when loading artifacts or whatever. And then the third one that you'll need is teleport, and I have that one assigned to A. Again, whatever you want should work. So once we have numbers assigned, and these 3 assigned, teleport, next selection, and selection action 3, we can go ahead and switch over to the actual software for the macro. So this is Corsair's IQ software. I have a Corsair K95, so they work well together. Obviously this next part is going to be kind of dependent on both your keyboard and the software you use to create the macro. So just jumping here, we're on the keyboard screen, obviously, and we're under key assignments. In the bottom left here, you can see I've got the 3 macros. Starting from the top here, the movement one. This is the one that will move all the ships together. Pretty simple. It's a right double click. And we do double click, of course, because when you right click just once on a ship, I'll show you here. If you just right click once, it creates that 10-second, departure window, and then you right click again to confirm. So essentially what I'm doing with the macro is I'm just committing that that departure instantly. So once that ship's now moving, now we hit X and we do a keystroke and jump to the next ship. And for the behavior, we just have it while pressed, repeat constantly, 0 delay. So basically, as long as I'm holding down the key, it will repeat it indefinitely until I let go. And so that what this is going to do is basically just going to move one transport, jump to the next one, move a transport, jump to the next one. And it's going to do that over and over and over again, you know, a ton of times within a second. The second macro is a little easier. It's actually just one step. This is to cancel all waypoints. Again, this is just clicking the selection action 3 keybind F3 with the keystroke, and then again same behavior while pressed, repeat constantly with no delay. Because you can only have like 8 or 10 waypoints max for a ship or something like that, realistically this I just kind of tap, because it just cycles through that many, it clicks F3 that many times. So usually I just hit it once, you know, for a fraction of a second, and then that usually clears it. But you could again hold it down for as long as you want, to just make sure. And then the fun one, the battleship one, this looks a lot more complicated. It really isn't. It's 12 steps, but it's just 4 steps repeated 3 times, one for each ship. So 4 steps for the battleship 1, 4 steps for battleship 2, 4 steps for battleship 3. So we start off with clicking 1 and then doing a keystroke. Then we do A to activate the teleport. And then we have a minor 1 millisecond delay here. I found this is kind of necessary, and the reason for that is because when you actually go ahead and you go to activate teleport, you can kind of see that it's hard to see, but you can kind of see like a small like circle. You can see how there's like a smaller circle that spawns before it goes to full range. And that is part of the animation, but the game also registers that as the range is increasing. So let's say I want to teleport, you know, to over here to this asteroid or whatever. Without that delay, the macro is actually faster than the game processes the full range of the module. So I would get errors that like the object was out of range because the small circle, you know, the range actually hadn't passed that object yet through the brief second that the macro is firing. So I added a 1 millisecond delay just to give the game that apparently it just needs a 1 millisecond, you know, pause for the whole teleport animation to reach its full range. So I can teleport to the full extent. And then once that delay is done and the teleport is now in full range, we can then left click it to confirm the teleport. And that's it. And we're doing that, basically those same exact 4 steps. We're repeating it for the second battleship and then for the third battleship. And the behavior is the exact same. We're doing it while pressed, repeat constantly, and no delay. So that's it. Those are the 3. Now, obviously, you know, you can, you know, assign them to whatever key you want. I currently have it as 2, 4, and 6. I originally had it as like I think 1, 3, 5 or something, but I kept hitting the G1 because I thought it was escape. And obviously, because you know it's just like any other macro, it's clicking buttons. So I'd be like in a Word doc or whatever, and now I got a bunch of X's in my Word doc because I accidentally hit the macro. So I moved it down to 2, 4, and 6 to get away from the escape button, and then I got a break in 3 and 5 just so that way I don't accidentally hit one of the macros. There's a little bit of distance between them, just as a little safety net there. So that's it. One thing to note with the macros is camera movement in the game. It's a little tricky, but once you kind of get the idea on how the camera works, it's pretty easy to just avoid. But when a ship is out of, so I'll zoom in, there's no ships in range, right? And when I click a number, the camera will not snap unless you hit that same number twice in a row like I just did. So again, going over here, I'll press 2, 1, 3, and now I'm on 3. I hit 3 again and it'll snap. So when you go to use the teleport macro, because the first key is a 1, just make sure that you're not currently selected on your 1. Otherwise, let's say you're not over here, you want to teleport here and you hit your macro, your camera's going to snap, which means your cursor is going to be in a different location, which means your teleport's going to land in a different location. So my advice is to actually just deselect it and let the macro actually select the battleships and move them. The camera also moves kind of weird when you're cycling through ships. So as I mentioned, you can just select a number and the camera won't snap. But if I click just X at any point, the camera will snap. So no matter if it's off screen, it will always snap. So notice how it's not snapping now because they're all, they're in view, but it'll snap to that one. It'll snap again, but won't snap because that's already in view, and it won't snap because it's already in view. So when you've got, for example, you just finished shipments, your shipments are all spread around your system, you want to move them all to your red star scanner, super convenient. You can use that movement key, that movement macro. Just make sure that you zoom out enough to where you can see all transports within your view, so that way your macro doesn't, the camera doesn't snap and mess up your macro. So just wanted to kind of highlight that in case you run into some issues, with the camera snapping and stuff's going all haywire. Your macro again is going to follow the game, and the game mechanic of the camera is what can mess up the macro. So I don't think there's really a way around that, except again just making sure you're aware of how the camera works, and again just zooming out so you see everything at once. So we covered all 3 macros. If you have another macro that you use, or a suggestion of a macro to, for me to map, drop a comment down below. If you've got another idea for a video, or you just have questions in general, leave a comment down below, or you can DM me on Discord. I'll even include the link to my corporation Discord server. Feel free to come hang out. We've got all kinds of channels, anywhere from off topic to memes to everything Hades Star related, of course. But until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.